guys, Joey McKernan here with your nonprofit coach with Equip, and I am excited for another episode with Hannah Vlach. I said it right?
Yes, you said it right.
From Restoring Dignity. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here today.
Of course. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well.
Restoring Dignity.
Yes.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
All I hear about you all the time. I see Restoring Dignity everywhere.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
No, it's good. It's a great thing. I mean, that's amazing. You started this organization how long ago?
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
And tell me the heart behind it. Tell me like where it started.
Yeah.
Where it came from. Give us the whole rundown.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the medium rundown.
I
need about an hour if I need to do the whole rundown. But basically, so when I was 16, I started volunteering with the Salvation Army. That was 20 years ago. I'm aging myself.
It's okay. It's okay.
I still feel like I'm 17,
young.
but that's okay. Anyway, I started volunteering at the Salvation Army, and that was when a lot of South Sudanese refugees were coming to Omaha. They were the first major group of refugees to come here. And so all of these families were arriving, tons of trauma from war and everything that had happened, having to be relocated, losing homes. And so the Salvation Army was trying to reach out to people and offer programming. And they looked at me and said, hey, you're going to be the one who's going to go in the bus and like go pick kids up and bring them back here. And so I started doing that for a while, for 3 years, all through high school and into college. I mentored a pretty large group of South Sudanese young women.
Okay.
And fast forward 5 years, I had kids. I took a break from volunteering so I could raise my babies. And I found out that one of the girls that I had mentored committed suicide on the anniversary of her dad's suicide. And it was awful. My mom and I ended up going over to her mom's house just to pay our condolences. We didn't know what else to do other than show up and say, we're so sorry. And we walked into their home and they were living in absolute poverty. Poverty to the point where they couldn't afford light bulbs. So if you went from the bathroom to the kitchen, you had to unscrew the light bulb from the bathroom, take it to the kitchen. Wow. Things were just broken throughout the house. At that time, I didn't know what a slumlord was. I didn't understand any of that. And they were renting from someone who unfortunately didn't take care of the property at all. So anyway, we saw all of these issues in the house. So many things were broken. So many things this family didn't have. They were grieving in this awful environment. And so we said, what can we do for this family? And so what we did is we came up with this idea to just do a one-time home makeover where we would ask friends and family to bring sheets and mattresses and towels and help us paint and help us get this whole house fixed up. And so we created a free blog called Restoring Dignity. Okay?
It was a blog.
Oh, it was a blog.
It
was a WordPress blog. Free.
Hey, that's where we all start.
Yeah,
WordPress.
free.
But I didn't know it was a blog.
No, it was a blog.
Wow.
Because it was free. I mean, back then, you know, 12 years ago, that's how you did it.
Right.
Posted it on Facebook and just said, hey, friends and family, this is the story. Please come and help this family. All these people showed up. We did a total home makeover for the family. They were super relieved that they no longer had to grieve in an environment that was just terrible. They had a restorative place where they could rebuild from and recover from what had happened to them. And so when that got done, we had received twice as much furniture as we needed. And so we said, what are we going to do with this? Because people donated this wanting it to go to families in need. And so we found out about another family that this family knew. It was a widowed South Sudanese mom. Kids were sleeping on the floor. And we said, okay, we'll go do another home makeover. And that mom wanted the home makeover. We did it.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, this is the end. Oh, little did I know. Somehow, like every refugee caseworker in Omaha found out about what we were doing, and they were like, oh, you're the group that does home makeovers for refugee families that are going through terrible situations.
Right.
So we started getting all of these referrals, like horrible things. People who had already been through so much trauma had arrived here and were still going through horrible things. I mean, situations where parents were dying from cancer, had their legs blown off by landmines back in their country. Situations where children had leukemia, just terrible things. And so we just started doing home makeovers. And so for 6.5 years, that's what we did as an organization, all volunteers. So I was volunteering for 6.5 years. And then 6 years ago, got pulled on as the executive director, and we got our 501c3 status. And we've just been going full steam.
Yeah. I did not know you were a blog. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It started as that, and then you just started helping this family, and it turned into
Yeah.
this incredible organization.
Yeah.
Then you said 5 years ago, you became officially registered.
Yeah, 6 now.
6 years
6
ago.
years
Okay.
now, yeah.
What did that feel like? Like to become more organized, I guess, like more of an actual like entity.
Yeah, it was a love-hate relationship. I never wanted to take it to nonprofit status because I knew it was going to change it. When you're doing something.
In what way? I'm interested.
Because I always felt like there was a purity of heart. When everyone was showing up as a volunteer, nobody was getting paid. People were just showing up from their full-time jobs saying, you know what, there are people in this community who need a boost, and we're going to give them a boost because that's what we would want. And so when it turned, I had a really hard time accepting a paycheck. I had, as a matter of fact, my first paycheck for the entire year was $30,000. That was my first salary. And I had a hard time with that because I don't know, it just didn't feel pure.
Right.
And so I don't know. That's been something for me.
Yeah. What changed 6 years ago?
My dad had a conversation with me and he said, Hannah, you're working, okay? You've got kids, you're doing all this stuff. You're giving your free time outside of work to helping people. And he said, they're never gonna get the help that you could truly give them if you keep operating like this. He said, if you accept a salary, you're going to be able to help way more people because you can now take that 40 hours a week that you'd normally be working and pour it into families. So it was my dad. Yeah.
And you just said, okay, it's time, or we got to just do it.
Yeah. And then just did it.
What did that open up for you though? Like opportunities, grants, funding, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just blown up. I mean, over the last 6 years, we started with a budget of 0, and our budget this year is almost $1 million. We have 13 staff, 78% of which are former refugees. We served over almost 5,000 people last year.
Wow.
We taught 1,695 in-home classes last year. We have reached almost 30,000 refugees in Omaha over the last 6 years. So that's what changed.
Wow.
When we could actually put our targeted effort into something instead of volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, that was actually a theme I had written down here on my little phone over here, was a purity of heart in the mission.
Yeah.
When we first met, talked, that was like the first thing I noticed with you was you're just you're so connected to the work. It's very evident. Like you are so pure to your impact. How have you kept that for 12 years? Because I know some people that lose that.
Yeah.
You start running the boards and the funding and you just get caught up in all the administrative stuff.
Yeah.
How have you kept so close to your heart to the work?
Yeah, I mean, I think having staff who, 78% are from the refugee community, they're bringing concerns, working with families. When we do home makeovers and I get to actually go and meet with families, I would say to any executive director, if you're not having regular time with clients, you're going to lose touch of your work. And I learned that actually from Roberta Wilhelm, who is the ED at Girls Inc. For a long time. She would always, so I used to work at Girls Inc. And she would always take time to do classes with girls so that she wasn't out of touch with what was going on. And I learned that from her. And I think that's important. I think you have to work with clients. I mean, as executive director, there's times I change the trash. I have cleaned the bathrooms. I have done these things. I meet with clients. I think executive directors need to be doing those things because you have to ground yourself. You can't get in this mindset that, I'm executive director. I mean, you're a person and you're serving people. Your job title is just different.
Absolutely.
So I think that's how, and I treat all of my staff as equals.
Yeah.
We have meetings. We just had a leadership meeting today, and everyone has an equal voice at the table. We all make decisions together. I think that's important.
That's good. A lot of your staff are the clients you work with, and they become staff. Is that intentionally built into your model? Like you want a lot of the people you work with to become staff, or does it just kind of happen?
It just kind of happens.
Just kind of happens.
Some of the families are families we've worked with in the past. Some of them aren't. Okay. I just want people who are actually from the communities that they're working with. I think that's so important. There's so many different cultural nuances and things that I will never understand about other cultures because I'm not part of that culture. And so I want somebody who is part of that culture who understands that.
That's good. I mean, I just love your heart. I love you're through and through the work you do is so what's the word? Genuine, and it's obviously your heart is in it. What would you say is when you started as an ED, which you've been kind of the ED for a long time, but like officially 6 years ago, what was something you thought would be easy that was not? But you were like, oh, that's probably easy. And then you get in, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I feel like I have to be perfect all the time. And I think a lot of what I loved before I had all this pressure of having to raise all this money is that I could just be myself. I could just be authentic. And I try to always be my authentic self, but I always in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong thing, and a funder doesn't like me, they could pull their funding. And so it really has created a battle within me. And I didn't think that that would be that hard because I really do try to be my authentic self.
Yeah.
But there's always this fear that somehow I'm going to mess up. Like I'm going to say one thing wrong and it's just going to crumble in some area. And so it's just like, I feel like I'm constantly like on a roller coaster ride almost, you know, my knuckles are bare white.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where do you think that comes from?
Oh man, I don't know.
Maybe,
I've wanted to be perfect my whole life and it's not going to happen.
Not even like personally, but I hear a lot of EDs say that.
Yeah.
Especially with funders.
Yeah.
Why is there so much like eggshell culture? It's like you say the wrong thing and boom, you're done. You know, why is that? Why does that exist? Maybe, or have you seen that in other EDs or?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever done that to us. Like nobody's ever just walked out like that. But I think it's just, I know the programs we're doing, I know how important they are. If I have a donor who gives me $50,000 and they walk out, or an organization like a foundation stops giving us $75,000, that is a problem. Because then we can't teach those classes. I have to go to my educators who are also raising children and have families and say, hey, you don't have a job. I mean, it is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Your board is pretty supportive for you?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they're very supportive.
Good.
You know, but yeah, it's just.
But it still is there. I mean, when you're running at point on something, it's still there. Yeah.
Well, and then, you know, you're just worried if you do anything wrong, you know, I don't know, like that you might get called out for it in a negative way. And if you have a negative news story or a negative anything, you lose support. And so it is a lot of pressure to not only do good work, but you also have to keep showing the image that you're doing good work. And you always have to be on your best behavior. I mean, maybe that's every job. I don't know.
Well, I mean, leadership is hard. I feel like because you carry this responsibility, you know, naturally. I mean, we have to pay people. We have to make sure everyone's paid and everyone's happy. Everything's moving forward. Everyone does. You know, there's just a lot of components to leadership, I feel like, you know.
Yeah.
In a nonprofit, you're not swimming in resources a lot of times. And so you just got to, I definitely get it. There's definitely pressure. But you got, by the way, if you guys don't know, we're Abide buddies, even though we never worked at Abide at the same time. But we came from kind of similar backgrounds. You know, have you always envisioned yourself within, like, in nonprofit work?
No.
No.
Never.
Really?
Never. No.
Really?
I wanted to be a doctor. I was accepted to medical school in St. Louis. Yes. No. I wanted to be a doctor since the age I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Ended up becoming a medical social worker, went back to school to get my pre-med prereqs, and then scored well in the MCAT, got accepted, and then a bunch of family stuff happened. I couldn't go. Got really sick that year, probably because I was so stressed from everything that was going on, and I ended up just observing doctors in clinics, and I was like, do I really want to do this with my life?
Sure.
And then I was like, no, I don't. And then I went through a period where I think I was pretty depressed for probably 4 or 5 years. I just kept doing Restoring Dignity, and I was doing other jobs. And then the need for what Restoring Dignity was doing just kept growing. And that's when I kind of stepped into this role and stepped, I guess, into the person I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't know if we ever I don't know if anybody it's like, man, that's what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know. Maybe some kids do. I don't know these days. But I don't ever think I ever thought that. But somehow, you know, I'm running like volunteer teams. And I'm like, how did I get here? You know, talking to foundation boards. And you're like, how did we end up here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very interesting. I mean, I feel like I've kind of surrendered my life to whatever is needed from me.
Yeah.
And so whatever that is, I'll do it. And this is, I guess, is what is needed right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to show up with my full self and I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And then when it no longer needs me, it will release me and I'll go into the next thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that's the philosophy that I live my life
Yeah.
around. It's just, you just have to surrender your life.
Yep.
And just go where you're needed.
Yep. It's awesome. What's a thing in the nonprofit sector? Let's talk about the nonprofit sector for a second. Like, what do you wish was just better as a whole? Like, what do you like? We need to get better at this as a whole group of people.
Okay, this is my idea.
Okay.
This would solve the whole world
All
for
right.
all.
I'm ready.
Oh my God, it would solve every problem for every executive director in the world. We need just one grant application that you do. Make it 100 pages long, where every question from every foundation that they want is answered, everything. And you do a 1-year submission, and then that information goes out to all the foundations. And then they make their decisions off of that, because we are spending so much time. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I had 8 grants due in 1 week. 8. I was up until 9:30 every night. So I got to work at 9, went to bed at, I don't even know what time I went to bed, but I worked till 9:30, and I did that the whole week. And I said to myself, I said, this isn't sustainable. And so yeah, like a universal, you know, we talk about universal healthcare. We need universal grant.
Yes.
Universal application. How about that?
Hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Even if it was
Someone
100
start that.
pages. Like, I would do it. I would take the time to do a 100-page application, just one, because I think you could answer everything anybody needs to know about you.
Right. It's like I remember there was a time at Abad, I remember like thinking, we're fundraising so much just to fundraise, like we were just doing so much of the administrative stuff. It just got so heavy. It felt like that's all we were doing half the time, was just raising money. I'm like, what are we even raising this for? Are we going out and helping? Are we showing up to family? You know, and people were, but it just becomes heavy. Yeah. Like you said. It's tiring. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Someone, don't steal that idea, but hey, that could be something.
No, please steal that idea, because
steal the idea. Okay, steal it. Yeah.
Please.
Someone do it, so we can make Hannah and a lot of ED's lives a lot easier. Well, we're on the topic of fundraising. Like, what has been your journey with fundraising? So you were doing this whole thing for essentially free for years. Yeah. To $1 million budget essentially this year. What's been your relationship with it? Like, has it been a kind of a hate, love, growing love? I don't know. What has it been?
That's a great question. There's parts of it I love. I love fundraising from the community. You know, we're doing a home makeover right now. People are buying stuff off an Amazon wish list. Okay. They're donating money for a family for their rent and car repairs. I love that kind of fundraising. The grants aren't awful.
Sure.
But it is hard when there's a lot of them. I mean, we're applying to 40 to 50 foundations a year, and we do have a company that helps us, but I still have to do a ton of review. And there's some questions that the grant company cannot answer.
Right.
And so, you know, it's just, I don't know. Yeah. Like, part of me is like, I'm good at fundraising. And then the other part of me is like, but I want to be focused on pushing the vision forward. But I can't do that when I'm sitting behind my computer doing all these reports and all this stuff. And I understand it's important.
Yeah, it's such a, because I don't think executive directors ever get into this for fundraising. I've never met one.
No. Yeah.
I've never met one. Like, they always want to help people. They want to make a difference. They want to serve a group, you know. But somehow, one day, their job ends up like 90% of that. Yeah. And I see some of them like burn out. They're not connected, like you were talking about earlier. Who's a nonprofit leader that you look up to?
Oh man, I think working under Roberta Wilhelm at Girls Inc. was huge. That really helped me a lot to see what she did. A lot of what she did in that organization, I implemented it in Restoring Dignity. Organizations that I really look up to, man, there's a lot of them. People are just doing so much good work. I mean, you've got Carolina Padilla over at Intercultural Senior Center, and she's just a force of nature, like what she's been able to do. I mean, you've got Asa Manisako over at the Simple Foundation. What he's doing down there is phenomenal.
I don't know them.
He's amazing.
Where are they?
Down off of 30th and Q Street.
Okay.
You
Omaha,
know,
for those not in Omaha.
yeah, I mean, you've got so many grassroots, smaller organizations. You've got
Yeah.
the, African Immigrant Family Services. I just met with their AD today.
Okay.
He is amazing.
Good.
You've got Mohammed Sahil with the Nebraska Afghan Community Center.
For them. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to keep naming them off.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else I really look up to. So many. I go to advice for people all the time, asking, how are you doing this? Is this okay? Yeah.
What's some landmines that you would advise a smaller nonprofit to avoid, especially if they're like starting? Maybe you stepped in them a time or two, or someone told you to not step in it. Like, what are some landmines?
Big mistake we made is the first couple years we became a nonprofit. We didn't know we were supposed to send thank you letters to donors.
Oh.
That's a problem. Yeah. So I do actually advise a couple of the smaller grassroots ethnically run organizations on how to grow their nonprofit. And that's the number one thing I tell them, you have to send thank yous.
Yeah.
One of our board members who told me that, she was like, look, my friend made a donation, never got a thank you. She's like,
important.
That's a problem, because there are people who will send donations, and then if they don't get a thank you, they never donate to that organization again. So I would say that's huge.
That's a good one.
You need to say thank you.
No matter the size, by the way. I don't care who you are.
No.
Always do thank yous.
Always thank you.
Always.
I think a huge landmine is, I think you have to get a grant writing company. We use Fox Creek Fundraising. I love them. If we didn't have Fox Creek, I would not be able, I cannot write 50 grants a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still helping with the review process, but they're carrying so much weight.
Yep.
And it's not really that cost prohibitive. I mean, if you look at the cost of hiring a development director who's going to make over 6 figures a year, versus hiring this company that you pay a fraction of that, I would say that that's a huge landmine. Don't try to do it all yourself.
Yep. They're a good one.
You'll get swallowed whole.
Yeah. And it keep going. Other landmines.
Oh man. Make sure that you hire people that are right for the position and not your friends or just people that you like. Because we kind of got into this issue where when we first started, we were kind of hiring people to teach our classes that were they're good people, caseworkers, like really good people, but they're not educators. And so what happens is people start burning out. So you want to hire people according to what their strengths are and put them in it. Don't put someone in something that they're not, like it's not a natural strength. They will absolutely burn out. It's a nightmare. They don't like their job. Huge landmine.
It's good.
Don't try to force someone into something. It should naturally flow.
Might have done that, you know.
Yeah.
It's such good advice, especially in nonprofit work, where you wear on average like 3 hats.
Yeah.
In some.
Yeah.
It's not right, but it does happen. And you don't get paid great. And like you just have so many pressures on you. Have to be good at it. You have to thrive.
Yeah.
If you're not thriving, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Other landmines you got?
Yeah, I do actually. Another landmine is you need to squelch every fire, even if you just smell smoke. If there is a volunteer who's not happy, if there's a donor who's not happy, if there's anyone who's not happy with your organization, you need to go to them and do whatever you can to take care of that. Because if you don't, one person can burn down so much. And so like, even if somebody's, like for example, if somebody tries to drop something off to us and we're closed and they're upset because they made a long drive and they didn't know our office hours, even though they're on our website, we will still reach out and say, I am so sorry that you had to make that drive and we were closed. Your feelings are totally valid. What can we do to rectify this? That's so important.
It's a good one.
Do not let fires start. Like you got to put them out.
That's good. Hey.
Everyone's important.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Any other landmines? That's a good one. It's a great one, honestly.
Oh man, they're landmines. I would say talk positive about people as much as possible. It's such a small community. You start gossiping about people or about things, or it will get back to them, and then bridges end up getting burned. So I would just be as positive as possible and realize we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We all have different personality types, and there are some personality types that are just like this. You know, and you just have to. I struggle with this all the time. I'm struggling with this week, and I'm just like, okay, Hannah, there's nothing wrong with me and this other person. It's just we're just different.
That's a good one. And it kind of goes into the fires thing. Like, when you're feeling tension with a staff member, a board member, like just put it out.
Yeah, go to them directly.
them.
Don't talk to someone else about the
good.
problem. You go directly to them and just squash it. I have made that mistake in my life. Don't do it.
That's a good one.
Look in the camera. Don't do it.
That's good. Because a lot of us do that.
Yes, it's natural because we don't want to confront things. We don't want conflict, but you just have to go straight to the you have to go straight to the person.
I have like 2 more questions on time, and then we'll get you guys. Volunteer. You guys were ran by volunteers essentially for like ever.
Yeah.
How did you get everyone to do that for so long? I mean, some nonprofits like I can't even get someone to sharpen a pencil for us, and you've got people, refurbishing houses and moving families in, and it's all volunteer. I mean, what was a few pieces in there that you guys did there?
So the number one thing that I learned from someone very wise on some podcast I watched that NAM put on was that you need to deliver joy to people. Don't try to make people feel bad or guilt them into doing stuff. Deliver joy. Wow, we are going to help this family. It is going to be amazing. Your support is so important. Look at what you are doing. People want to feel joy. Make them feel joy, okay? And then you got to thank people. People like to be thanked an average of 7 times. And staying on the number of 7, people usually don't give until they've been asked 7 times. So you have to be relentless. I ask shamelessly for stuff. I send out emails shamelessly. I'm like, I need volunteers. I need this. Look at what we're going to do. This is great. You have to be shameless. Don't be afraid of asking. 7 times. Keep that number in your head. 7 times to thank people and 7 times to ask people.
That's good. And people want to help.
And they want to
want to help.
Yes.
I know it's like, they do want to help.
Yes, we have a lot of good people. And I think you also need to enter into this with the mindset of abundance. And the mindset of abundance versus lack is that abundance says there's always enough volunteers. There's always enough money. There's always enough. And we can share it and we can all work together. And if you work with that mindset, that's how your life is going to go. That's how your organization is going to go. If you work with lack says there's not enough volunteers. There's not enough money. I can't collaborate because they're the enemy and they're trying to take funding from what I need. And if you operate from that, that's the way your organization is going to go. You're never going to have enough volunteers. You're never going to have enough money. So you have to operate from abundance.
It's good.
I was taught that
give
by
you a
other
high
people.
Look at that. Hey, I love it. I love that. And we got to wrap up. But guys, take everything Hannah just said and apply it. That's all I can say. Take everything she just said and apply everything she just said. Okay. Hannah, thank you so much for being on the show. Real quick, how can people connect with you? How can they give to you? What are you doing? What campaign?
Yeah, we're doing a home makeover right now. We need items purchased from the family's Amazon list. We want to support them with rent support. You can donate towards that. We need volunteers. It's going to be a great time. You can always support our Welcome Home program. You can buy products, fire extinguishers, cleaning supplies, smoke detectors, things like that on our Amazon list. You can volunteer with us. We have so much stuff that we're doing in the office, and then you can give to us. And that money goes back into the refugee community. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. RestoringDignity.org.
RDOmaha.org.
I was way off. RDOmaha.org. Okay. Make sure you connect with them, support them, get involved. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Be back soon, guys.